Everyone, welcome back. This is your new moon report for the new moon in Taurus, which is coming in on May 16th. I am actually pretty excited for this new moon. I'm going to share my screen with you, show you the chart, and we will dive right in. Okay, so here we have the new moon in Taurus. The new moon is coming in at 25 degrees. Here it is. And there's a couple of things that I like about this new moon. There is some tenderness in the chart, and the energy that we've been navigating has been pretty gnarly. I just want to kind of give credence to that. Last week we had Pluto stationing, Pluto stationed retrograde, and when these outer planets station, we are feeling their energy very strongly. These outer planets spend a long time in retrograde. So their retrograde journeys aren't like the inner planets like Mars and Mercury, where we have this kind of consolidated moment of working with that planet. But the moments like Pluto, for example, Pluto will be retrograde for 5 months out of every year. So this is like almost half of the time. However, the moment when Pluto makes his change in direction, we feel his energy. We feel his presence. And Pluto is Lord of the underworld. So I just want to give a little note about that. That happened last week on Wednesday. If you have planets on or around 5 degrees of Aquarius, which is where Pluto's stationed, you're going to be feeling that a lot. If you have planets at or around 5 degrees of the fixed signs, so this is Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, you're going to be feeling this a lot because Pluto would have either been squaring or opposing those positions. Everyone definitely has been feeling Pluto in his station, but based on your chart, you may be feeling that a lot more intensely than others. So I just want to note that we've been feeling Lord Pluto. Lord Pluto has been like sitting on us. This is a really heavy energy, right? He's Lord of the underworld. So he's bringing shit up, and that can be really intense. That came in just right after we had that really intense new moon and full moon in Scorpio. So I just want to give kind of credit to the intensity of the waters that we've been swimming in. Now, we're going to talk about this new moon and what's exciting about it. It is a really powerful new moon for manifestation. So now if you've listened to my videos before, or you've listened to me talk about astrology before, you'll know that I do not recommend or advise working with every single moon for manifestation. This is because sometimes the chart is really unstable, and that is not an energy that you want to be manifesting into, right? Sometimes the energy is really just like gnarly, and you don't want to be manifesting, placing your intentions into that container. So we want to be really intentional about the container of what's happening astrologically when we're working with manifestation practices. This is a new moon that I would want to manifest with, and I'm going to talk about why. There is some tenderness in the chart. We're going to talk about that too. We're going to move through it, but it's there right now. So let's get into this new moon itself. Okay. So the new moon is 25 degrees Taurus. We love this because a new moon in Taurus is asking us to focus on the material plane. Taurus is fixed earth. So we're looking at our material resources here. We're looking at our finances. We're looking at our relationships. We're looking at the physical, tangible, material realm in which we inhabit. And when we work with this Taurus archetype, this is where we can really work with manifesting things into the physical realm, right? And there's a couple of other things here that are helping us with that manifestation energy. So the first one is that the new moon is conjunct Mercury. Now, Mercury rules our mind, our intellect, our thoughts, and Mercury has been going through a purification process over the last almost year and a half while the South Node has been in Virgo, because Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. So therefore, Mercury is our current ruler of the South Node. And we are almost done this nodal journey, you guys. I can't wait for the nodes to move and shift and have a new nodal journey to talk to you all about. But for now, we're still in this one. And but we're at the tail end of it, right? So what that means is that we should be by now, hopefully, we've been working with these archetypes and we've been purifying the lower frequencies of Virgo. These lower frequencies of Virgo are around our mind, where we get caught in mental loops, where we are spinning out, where we are overthinking, in perfectionism patterns, right? Getting stuck in basically control patterns, basically ideas of where our ego thinks that we have to control and figure everything out for ourselves. Now, when we purify those control patterns and that shadow tendency of Virgo, we have a higher octave of Mercury that we're stepping into. And the higher octave of Mercury is actually a very important aspect of manifestation. Why? Because Mercury rules the mind. And as the alchemists say, the universe is mental. What does this mean? It means that we are projecting a mental experience onto our reality. We are constantly having these mental concepts that our thoughts, our mind is projecting externally and creating the reality that we experience mirrored back to us. And so when we can be really disciplined with our mind and we can use our mind as a tool for creating the type of timelines that we want to step into, our mind is actually a very powerful tool. However, our mind is normally, unless we've done this purification process, at the service of our ego, meaning we're in these control patterns, we're in these overthinking patterns, we're just stuck in maybe like negative karmic mental loops, right? When we purify that aspect of the mind and we use the mind as a tool for the soul, we can actually use the mind to communicate with the soul, to ask like, what is it that is in my highest service? How can I be of highest service to the collective? And step into co-creation with our soul so that we can get into our highest timeline and actually manifest those things into our external reality, because our mind is really a mirror of what we're experiencing externally. So this Mercury placement is going to help us with this manifestation aspect of this new moon. The other thing that's supportive about this new moon is that we have an out of sign conjunction with Uranus. This is a little bit far for the new moon. It's just, the Uranus is at 1 degree right now of Gemini. So it's 6 degrees out. However, because of the proximity to Mercury and the fact that following this new moon, and the new moon, we got to remember, is like an initiation of a new cycle. So this energy is going to build. And so this means that right after this new moon, Mercury is going to pass through Gemini and is going to make a conjunction with Uranus. Now, we love this because Uranus brings insight, innovation, a new perspective, a fresh way of looking at things. And Uranus is on a new journey, right? Uranus has entered Gemini. We're having some kind of a fresh, revelatory insight kind of experience with Uranus. And right now, Uranus is in this really helpful, supportive aspect with the other two outer planets. Uranus is making a trine to Pluto, which is this planet of transformation, death, and rebirth, and a sextile to Neptune. And so these three outer planets, these three kind of lords that connect us to our spiritual growth and are more like less connected to our ego self and our personality structure and more connected to our soul self. These three planets are in a helpful conversation right now. And so Mercury is about to, in this new moon chart, pass by Uranus and enter into that conversation that these three are having. These three are having a new conversation. They are all in early degrees of new signs that they have entered into relatively recently. And so there's something new that we're building. We know this because we know that when Neptune entered Aries, this is the beginning point of the zodiac. When Saturn entered Aries, these two had a meetup. We're starting a new vision. There's a new project. I've been talking about this, right? There's something new that we're here to bring into creation. And now that thing that is new that we are dreaming up with Neptune is getting support from Pluto, the death and rebirth that needs to happen to birth that new vision into reality. And from Uranus, something needs to be shaken up, something needs to be revolutionized, something needs to be complete, like we need an insight, a download, like oh my gosh, I never saw it that way, right? That's Uranus. That's the kind of influence that Uranus brings. And so in this new moon chart, we are kind of working with that energy because Mercury is about to make that conjunction with Uranus. So there is a fresh perspective coming through. And the other thing is that Mercury in this chart has just made conjunction cazimi with the sun. And so when Mercury makes cazimi with the sun, we're seeing something that we didn't see before. And now with Mercury passing by Uranus, we're seeing it from a bigger perspective. We're having an aha moment about what that means for us. And so this new moon is really a beautiful opportunity to plant new seeds, to set new intentions, and to really, really, really work with that manifestation energy. Okay, so let's talk about what's tender. There is a tenderness in the chart. So let's talk about it. The tenderness in this chart is coming from Chiron. Chiron always brings tenderness. And here is Chiron conjunct Mars in late degree Aries. So let's talk about that. This is a little bit of an intense transit. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a quick one because Mars moves quickly. But right now in the moment of this new moon, it's exact. So what does this mean? As we know, Mars is our warrior. So Mars rules our drive, our determination, what we believe in, what we're here to fight for. And Mars can be aggression as well, right? It's that warrior archetype, especially in Aries, its ruling sign. And in this chart, Mars is hitting up against Chiron, a wound. The way that I want you to think about this is that like Mars is going to aggravate the wound 100%. Like this is, the wound is being like, there's kind of like a sword or like a knife being shoved into the wound right now. However, Mars is also our ability to take action. And so the way I actually want to invite you to work with this is that bring Mars into, Mars is going to need to take action on something around this wound. Whatever this wound is stirring up, whatever insight, clarity, and there is going to be insight and there is going to be clarity with this new moon for sure because of Mercury, because of Uranus. Whatever is being stirred up, whatever wound is being aggravated, there is some kind of an action step for you to take. There is some kind of a boundary. There is some kind of and it feels like it's a final straw here because this is in late degrees of Aries. Aries is like, I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to finally say the thing. I'm going to set the limit. I'm going to set the boundary. I am going to actually take the action that is required in order for me to do the thing that I want to do, build the thing that I need to build, go after what I want, claim my desires, like whatever it may be, there's some kind of an action step here. So yes, Mars is going to be aggravating the wound. It's going to feel tender. It's going to feel vulnerable. However, the medicine here is action. The medicine here is to like make moves on it, to not just sit on it, right? And we're past that window of like, okay, we want to be careful about taking action. We're really out of the square with Jupiter now, which was really amplifying like big feelings around that. It's pretty loose now. There's a 7-degree orb. So we're pretty good on that. And I do think that this action, this is going to create further movement towards your manifestations and the seeds and intentions that you're planting. So last but not least, let's look at the ruler of the chart. And the ruler of the chart is Venus, and she is in Gemini. She's making an almost perfect sextile to this Mars conjunct Chiron situation. This is why I think that the boundary that you set, the action that you take, the thing that you finally do that you've been knowing that you need to do, especially with all this Aries energy that's been like fueling this agitation, right? There's something that you've known you need to do. You're doing it now. And when we take that action, when we have that follow through, there's a support here. There's a support to Venus, and it's going to support us in the creation of our desires. Venus is about the creation of our desires. She is about relationships, of course. So this could be a relationship boundary. There's something that you have not been looking at, that you have been kind of knowing is there, that you've been kind of denying to yourself and avoiding or whatever. Mars is like, yeah, we're not going to avoid this anymore. We're actually going to move forward on this. We're going to take action. We're going to shift this pattern, and it's going to be supportive for Venus. She is going to be opening up to new possibilities within this kind of transformation. So I'm excited about this new moon. I really recommend you to work with this one for manifestation, setting your intentions. Taurus is a very fertile season as well, right? We're just still in the beginning of the year. This is like our second season of the year. We're just moving into like the planting those fertile seeds, right? Aries is like where we have the spark, the initiation, the idea. It's like, okay, I'm inspired. And now we're tending to the soil. We're planting the seeds. So whatever it is that you have been desiring to create in your life, start taking those action steps, especially around if there's something around a wound that you've been avoiding looking at or avoiding taking action on. This is a good new moon to take that action and plant your seeds of manifestation with this new moon. And I hope that it's beneficial for you. And I'm excited to talk to you again in a couple of weeks for our next full moon. Thanks for being here. Oh, last thing I'll note is that if you are interested in joining us live for community calls where we talk about the moon, we meet every full moon in my free community called Coven, and I go over the chart. I do this whole reading live, and then I also pull up each person's chart and look at how the chart is aspecting you, what's going on for you. I might give you ritual suggestions or how to work with the full moon. So you can join that community for free. I'll have the link in the description of this video, and thanks for being here.